Right, early start. See you later. How are they getting on? Any battles won yet? Right, got a meeting to go to, just kick me off. Right, yesterday's question, how many of you played with your grip? Good to hear that lots of you are starting to think about experimenting with your grip. Certainly if you want to play with shot shape, you should really try and work out what different twists do to your kind of shot shape, and if it helps you, hit the ball higher and lower, more left, more right, all those things. It's a great learning process. So today's question, how many of you have done a gap test? How many of you actually know the distance each one of your clubs go? And if you do, post comments down below, let me know if you've had one. Also let me know any of the problems that you noticed in your gap test. When I do gap testing, used to do lots of gap tests, there was always a reoccurring pattern, always exaggeration, but there was a real pattern. See if you can guess what it is. Hit that comment section up down below, hit thumbs up as always, and don't be afraid to subscribe. Right, first meeting done, on to second one now. Today's swing, we're looking at a club path that's going a long way left. So this player has emailed me saying he's complaining of cut shots, moving it off to the right. It's all about wrist conditions and where he gets his face at this point in relationship to where that path has to move for him to have any chance of hitting target. I'm going to show you how changing face, angle, loft, wrist conditions on the downswing also hugely change path for students if you get them just to change their ideas of how to use their wrist. Let's show you what I mean.
How are you?
Good, thanks, Dan, you right?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm at Torquay, we're testing clubs. Right, think about this with your club face. We've got Dan manning the computer. So if I'm going to hit one down just standard, if you can shout out my path and face the path number. So I'm just hitting here with one of Dan's old file lines. So path is 0.1 into out 0, face 1.3 closed. It's a driver setting, but ignore the graphic, that's your numbers. So path was straight, face was within 1 degree of path, hence I hit relatively straight shots, slight draw, slight fade, depending on what I do with that face. Watch this. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to try and change path, I'm going to try and hit target. But I'm going to make sure my face as it comes down feels like it's more twisted this way to me. What you are often known as called open, I would call it kind of adding more loft is what I get a better response from my students with. But I'm going to move my wrist this way on the way down. I'm not going to use my normal wrist conditions. To hit target, knowing that the face is not going to be in line with the path. So I'm going to try and pull down this way. So there opposed to more here. Oh, I found it hard to strike. The line has gone, but we'll see how far offline that one is. It has gone to the right. I reckon I could hit target if you gave me enough goes at that. So I was 21.5 yards off to the right. Got the cut. The shot this player complains of. So the face is 11 open to path, and the path instantly went nearly 9 degrees, 8.9 out to in. So for me to function, to hit target, if my face is going to work that way, deliver open to the path, I've got to shift path way left. So the student today, Dan, his path is moving long way left on camera. As he pulls down, he looks like he wants to move the face this way. Which does exactly what I did there, it kind of makes it functional for hitting target. So the easiest way to shift path, and I've shifted path masses of degrees, getting people to think about face only, so not even thinking about path, is I don't have many students who will hit more than 1 or 2 shots with the path that this player brings and their face is at this angle. So when they use their wrist conditions in a much more flatter way, almost feeling like they're bowing it, if they then get their path going left, they hit completely unfunctional shots. So if you change their face, their path changes, or they hit that shot. People who play golf, like this player already, doesn't want to hit that shot. What was the path on that one there?
Path is 5.3.
5.3 left.
Left.
Face.
11.2 shot.
Face massively closed to path, ball goes low left. You get the face working that way, path shifts. I promise you, easiest way to move that face that way is thinking about your wrist conditions on the downswing. Thinking as hard as you can about getting, say, FJ pad here, the point way to the camera lens on the way down. rather than your movement, which looks like it wants to move this way as it starts down. So turning the club this way as you pull down, I want you to feel like you're turning your back of your left hand, like I say, to this back wall here, turning that face, almost feeling like it's to the sky. And I don't care if you overdo this. Overdoing this is great because it shifts past way to the right. It makes people hit big slinging draws and they look at you and go, never hit that shot ever. And the main reason they've never hit that shot ever is because they're so busy trying to move path when a face is open to a path because of wrist conditions, that it makes it completely unnatural. Ball starts writing cars further off to the right. People just don't want to hit the ball like that. Wrist conditions, downswing. Soon as you pull down, feel like you're revving the bike, turning that wrist away, turning that FootJoy glove to the back wall, up to the sky, as much as you can, and you hit better shots. Right, second drill. This one's really good for all people who struggle with this wrist condition movement. So what I want you to do is go top of your backswing and stop just with your left hand. Now, if you're holding the club at the end, this club's going to feel heavy at the top of your backswing, and I want you just to let it feel heavy and let your wrist fold. Just let it go. So you're going to really pronounce how much you're using your wrist condition. So top of your backswing and stop. Your initial pull down wants to go this way. I want you to move the wrist this way more, so up to top and stop. Just let that wrist fold. Put your other hand on and hit a few shots. You're going to find that the shots are A, hard to hit, and B, going to go in funny directions. But if you do it enough times, for me that shot went way left, I would naturally start to move my path, even my aim round to the right, which then in turn moves path, if I did this drill with the intention of hitting a target. But you can do this drill indoors. You don't need to do it hitting balls. You can do it indoors, hold down the grip so you're not smashing anything, up to the top, let that wrist just fold, and then get the feeling of moving the club with that very different wrist condition. For every student I do this with, it totally changes how they hit the ball, like straight away changes them. They don't always then bleed it onto their full shots, which is the skill of how you use a drill in practice. So what I mean by that is how good are you at seamlessly using a drill and then putting a shot in where you're not using the drill and try and recreate the feelings. That's a skill in itself and something you should be practicing as much as the drill. But for people who really struggle to get a feeling, their wrist going this way, where I want them to feel like they're almost revving the bike the other way, this is a great way to give them that feeling. It's then just a case of bleeding it onto their real shots. Wow, what a morning. Fun time testing there. Interesting videos coming at you with some of that equipment. Let's get home. Hello, made it back to the edit.
Let's answer your questions.
I've just purchased a new Bettinardi Stock 8 putter. Everyone at the club and everyone I speak to is saying that it's far too much money to spend on a putter. So my question to you is, why are people prepared to spend £300, £400 on a driver but shy away from doing the same for a putter, which is arguably the most important club in the bag? Cheers, Brad.
Ego, and yes, a bit of ego. It's laughable, but the way of the golfing world. I mean, I think people honestly believe that the amount of tech in certain items will really transform what they can do in their golf. That's why I constantly keep trying to bring ideas back in line with what is being marketed at you lot. I would have no problem spending money on a putter. I didn't when I used to play, as long as I got the putter I wanted to play. I would change my driver when I felt like I needed a change, and I would feel no more importance in the driver to the putter. I'd see them as equal, really. I would see them as just clubs that allow me to shoot scores or not. I agree with you, people have got the wrong way around. It will always be the way. It's the biggest selling clubs. It's the club I used to work when I worked in the range at Clifton Hill. It's the club everyone wanted to talk about. When I tested them, it wasn't always their worst club, even though they said it was. Because it goes a long distance, people feel they can go a long way offline, so they don't realise maybe that they miss the green every time from 150 to 180 yards. Is that important because it just misses the green? But when they hit a drive and it goes 100 yards offline, it really scares them, so it's like the club they want to work on. I think it gets into people's minds more than it should, I agree, but I would see them, for me, both as equal. So I don't agree with your friends. If you want to spend loads on a putter, do, and if you want to spend loads on a driver, if you do, but I don't see one as more important than the other. Going for a sleepover. Wow, what about us? Going for a sleepover as well? Mm-hmm. No, we'll be alright, don't worry about us. You're staying, aren't you? Good girl. So the last thing I want you to understand with your wrist conditions is how it can seriously affect the shape of shots you hit. It's an actual skill, so it's a skill I'll use to shape the ball. It's a skill I would have used as a kid to try and manipulate the ball, but it's one I see so many amateurs kind of reluctant to play with. And I think it's a lot to do with the fact that for so long people have thought that they need to do their wrists in the correct way, where really what I'm asking for is a functional use of those wrists, a functional understanding of how moving them in certain ways in relationship to your hold can help you promote different shapes and then in turn different club paths. I see it time and time in lessons where you just free people up to actually feel that they can move their wrists differently rather than setting them in these kind of 90 degrees and getting on planes and talking about lags and all the things I think we've been getting wrong for so long, and you change them in seconds, literally to the point where they like say things like, "How did you do that?" Well, I made you concentrate on something that isn't wasting your time. Practice your wrist. Even if you're hitting the ball straight, you should be practicing how moving your wrist, bowing, cupping, so extending and flexing that wrist, shapes the ball, changes the height of the ball. It'll make you such a more skilled golfer. Thanks all for watching. Post comments down below as always. Hit that subscribe button. If you're loving the daily vlogs, I got less meetings tomorrow. That'll be a good thing.